people? We are back. This is This a Pickleball podcast? I'm your host, Matthew K. Pickleball. And Wilson, you don't know this, but we might have just had different intro music because I'm having issues with the music. Long story, but folks, let me know down in the comments. Is it terrible? Let us know. But I am joined today by my amazing co-host, Mr. Wilson. How are you today?
Hey Matt, I'm doing good. I'm cutting into my World Series times just for you, all right? So
Oh,
let's make this snappy, all right?
all right, I'll do my best. You know, I live right by the stadium, so I feel like I'm a player. I might as well be up on the mound throwing those pitches anyway. But all right, we're gonna keep things moving. Few reminders. We got a lot of giveaways on the channel. If you're watching this, if I get this out in time, there's a Honolulu notch foam paddle. Watch that vid, giveaway there. Thrive Fury, Carbon True Foam Genesis 4, some Solace pickleball shoes, and in my the Solace pickleball shoes are in my 6-0 Ruby Pro review. And Wilson, I don't know if you caught it, but I finally, a decade late, I put up my Rhombus Quanta
Ah,
video, and I am giving away a paddle in that video, and this is the first time I've ever done this, Wilson. It is a two-parter. I am doing a two-parter budget foam battle, and hopefully that next part, I'm editing it right now, but it's going to let you know, should you go VSOL Pro, VSOL Power over Quanta, which one's right for what kind of player. So make sure you subscribe because you won't want to miss that video, or just subscribe because you want to see Wilson some. All right, folks. All right, but we're gonna keep things moving. I got. This is an unusual episode, Wilson. You don't even know what's going on, do you?
no, I don't. No idea.
No, you don't. Okay. He just wants to watch the Dodgers, folks. All right. Do we got Dodgers fans in the house? Comment down below. Let us know. But I got a little bit of a PSA, a public service announcement. Our friends at Chorus, the makers of this awesome line, which I'm trying to cover a bit more on the channel. This is the Phoenix Paddle. And Chorus, I did a whole interview with the owner a while back. I'll try to leave a link. They are a category of pickleball paddle company that is trying to innovate while still be affordable. And I think that's a very special category of paddle companies. But the world's throwing things at him at Chorus. Matt, the owner, he's it's a 1-2 punch over there. First, there's some, and we talk about this a bit in my interview, there's some USAP issues where he took it on the chin and basically killed a whole paddle line because of some stuff with USAP. I don't want to get into all the details. I can't remember what he shared, so check that video out. We definitely go into it, but there's some stuff that we can't really talk about. But had sort of a silver lining. That whole line of paddles died. And those paddles were the fire paddles. I did a whole review on them. Very helpful. Like a big, massive overview of now paddles you can't find. But he took it on the chin, and then he went back to his laboratory, and from the ashes of the fire rose the Phoenix. And this is, you've hit with the elongated version, right?
Yeah.
What do you think of it? You like it, don't you?
It's a stiff and powerful paddle. I would say it's almost paddle tech-esque.
All right.
It
Yeah.
has
I
that
mean,
same power, but it's also surprisingly like pingy and loud. It's the first thing you'll notice when you're hitting with it, especially once you start doing drives and hard shots, is the sound. But other than that,
yeah.
it's a great paddle.
Yeah. And I'm excited because I think they have really unique shapes. I've been underwater with the testing, and so it's just, I'm a bit behind, but I'm glad you have been testing it out. But I do think that's also for honeycomb paddles. Like, I do think that is the right way to go because the foam, I think, does a good job at creating that plush. And so I think Course is onto something. But So they made they took some lemons and made lemonade. This is the lemonade from all that USAP mayhem. Unfortunately, whew, I don't know what's up. I think Matt lives in Texas. I think he's got a we're a non-expletive podcast. I have that. I think Matt has a freaking lemon grove next to his house because he just got hit with some more lemons. So basically, all of his gear, if I understand everything right, all of his gear that has this logo. And you know what? I need to make sure I say this completely right. There's some stuff that some's public and some is not. And so I'll just say exactly there. Matt got some issues with the logo, his this old logo. And so Chorus has had to change this C letter mark. And as the result, so basically there is an issue, and Chorus, as the result of that issue, has to change their logo. So this logo is going away. And as a result of that, any paddle, bag, or anything with the C logo will be on sale until the end of the year. And so I don't know exactly when that sale kicks. Actually, I do. I put it in my notes last night. I tried to get this episode all prepped. So starting October 31st, they're going to start the first phase of that sale on their entire paddle inventory. If it has the C letter mark, the C letter mark, it's going to be on sale. And basically, Matt has said that's literally every paddle model besides the Phoenix, and even includes their brand new tour bags and some other gear. And I know he worked really hard on that bag. So I don't know if Matt's drinking lemonade, but other folks buying his gear are certainly getting some sweet and sour drinks over from Chorus. So throw them some support. They need to get that gear out of the door. I don't know if promo code Matthew K is working or not. Definitely try it. But yeah, help Chorus out. They need to get that inventory out the door. And yeah, folks, you get to start chugging on some lemonade at Chorus's expense. Did you have any other thoughts? Are you gonna go check out tell your friends about Chorus's sale?
I'm gonna make some more lemonade out of the lemons that Matt has. Sorry, Matt at Chorus, but I really like their super court paddles, especially their EX, their elongated one, of course. I say it's like a notch down in power than the Phoenixes, but it is very controllable. And also, I'm really into the whole throwback look of their. He has the the super court in that cream with the cream edge guard with the brown
Yeah.
grip, and I'm really digging that. That I think that's also why I'm drawn to like the new Locos with the cream and orange or brownish grips. If you guys like that kind of like throwback feel to your paddles, you guys might want to look into it because if they're going to be on sale, you might as well pick one up.
Yeah, I mean, you can get the OG if I remember this correctly, because I looked right before we recorded, the OG Super Court, which was a crazy whippy paddle. I believe that's $50, and so that's made differently than the newer Super Court, and that's right now. That's before the 31st. So there's going to be a lot of stuff on sale there. Check it out. But Wilson, that's some tough news, but that's pickleball news, right? Sometimes it's tough. Sometimes it's tough. Well, I got some more news. So last week, we talked about the Honolulu J6 CR paddles. Do you remember that little convo?
Oh
You
yeah.
do? Yeah. Yeah. And so people are already excited about that. And then, I've been catching up on the videos. And so I now I'm in my head because when I was just talking, I was thinking about a comment I just got, which was like, you say too much. And so, or and now I'm trying to edit that out, but that's tough. So folks,
No,
bear
I'm pretty
with
sure it
me.
wasn't you. It was most likely me. You're pretty good with your, um, your wording and everything.
No, no, no. They said us and ers. And I know you're not saying You're not from the South, so you don't have any of these weird sounds coming out of you. But uh, that little bit of news, people were interested in. And so then, since I thought I wasn't going to play test much between leading up to this pod, which actually changed, I was able to sneak out this morning. So I have some updates.
Yes.
But so I was like, gosh, I got to figure out my podcast. And that's where this low topic comes in. So I have reviewed some paddles from a company called Spartus on the channel before. And I actually did a huge video one time talking about what I just was talking about with Chorus, which was sort of like explaining what my favorite category of paddle company is, which is a company that innovates but is typically smaller and is very dedicated or invested into building an audience for their gear, for their brand. So they're also very price conscientious. And so Spartus is one of those brands. I think another one I had mentioned in that video, I think it might have been for a Neonic release. And then I think there are some others. I think Chorus is in there. Honolulu, I think's in there. Of course, 11624. I think Kiwi Labs, super overlooked company, is in there. But these smaller companies that innovate and try to bring paddles to gearheads at reasonable prices. And I'm sure I left some folks out, but those are some of the ones that come to mind. And anyway, and do you have any others that you think will maybe fall into that bucket? I doubt you've like thought about like categorizing paddle companies as much as I have, but any that I'm overlooking?
Probably not as much as you. Maybe Packle, I guess, my go-to.
Packle, yeah, I
But
think Packle's edged its way in since I made that video. Packle wasn't on my radar, but yeah, since then I definitely think Packle. Like, I think we might be the only people that cover Packle. And yeah, check out. Actually, the EVO01 is coming out with a lighter version. We've covered the one you like a whole lot. I think the lighter one, lighter swing weight, I think is going to maybe be right in my wheelhouse. Maybe I'll do a side by side because I do need to get a proper review. But Spartus is a company that's been on my radar for forever, and you might know they had this monster release way back called the Apollo. And this actually made my top 10 video last year because it's a very unusual paddle. I described it as like a crazy defensive paddle, but I'm saying defensive, not control, because it had a very aggressive pop, which was that was a very unusual combo, especially for a Kevlar, especially for this crazy wide body, but it was very aggressive. So you had this shield and then you could just pop, 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 pop. And so it was an aggressive style of defense play. And so this was kind of like the spiritual successor to one of their very first paddles, which I also cover on the channel, called the Ballista, which was pretty unique at the time. But so they evolved, took feedback on the Ballista, and put all that knowledge into this. And then they really got known for this paddle here. So
Olympus.
Have you hit with the Olympus? This is the Olympus. Had you
I've
hit
played
with
with
this?
other people's. Yeah, it's a great paddle. It's definitely powerful.
Yeah, so it had what they called an ascension core. And basically, it had a honeycomb filled with cells that were filled with foam. And we've seen other companies do something similar, but I definitely think Spartus, and this will make sense as I go into more of what I'm talking about, but I have a feeling it's done a little bit differently than some of the other paddles we've seen with foam, with their honeycomb core cells filled with foam. just because like this doesn't feel like crazy heavy, and like their Ascension core is like, I believe it's a protected design. But I got news, dude. You see these two guys?
Yeah.
These two? Do you see this? You see these? You love these, right?
Yeah, they're great. Or at least
Dude,
the
these are.
Olympus. I've never actually
Uh,
played with the Apollo, but I do like the
all right, well, take
Olympus.
my word. Take my word. These are both great paddles, and they're gone. They are sold out, and I don't think they're coming back
No.
because they are really working on some new stuff. And this is kind of like what Spartus has been as a brand. They make something, they learn from it, and they put it away and do something else. And before I talk about what that something else is, something that they didn't discontinue, that is still going for the foreseeable future, is their Apex line. And this was actually released this year. And these are the sleeper paddles of the year. They first came out in a, I believe, they first came out, it was a hybrid shape and an elongated shape. And I totally dropped the ball. Those came to me. I didn't get a video done. Some other creators got some good videos, and I really didn't hit with them. They were these crazy budget paddles, and I just never had a chance. But then later on, they released this wide body, and if you haven't figured out, I love wide bodies. I especially then, before Wilson was converting me to elongated. But this was the Oracle shape, and I got a review unit. They didn't even have review units. This was like a test unit, like that I guess they had in their shop. I was like, "Come on, let me hit with it, please, please." And the owner of Spartus, this guy named Josh Kim, he sent me one, and this thing is epic. I've talked about it before on the pod. It is just, it hits. It is just. It is, I think, plenty of power and just very unique feeling. And like the headline is, it is sticker price $70. After promo code Matthew K, it is 63, and it uses what they call a boost core, and that's a 10 millimeter cell polypropylene, but black polypropylene, which is like we've seen in other paddles. I believe we've seen some of those in Engage, if I remember right. It's just not as common, and it is poppy, brief life on the face, but very controllable. Great spin, and then at least the version I have had a fully molded handle, and so we had talked about F and B last week, which I actually don't think is fully molded. I think it is put together to create a facsimile of a fully molded handle, the same effect. But this one, my understanding is fully molded, and this thing is just freaking epic. It also uses some hardened gel inside of it, and so not unlike what Paddle Tech does, like adding weight. I love paddles that sort of tune them before you, like, and put the whatever weight they're adding under the edge guard. And then the other thing that's unique about this is its non-thermoformed face, which we've seen with Paddle Tech as well. And so they describe it as it's supposed to play with the power of thermoformed paddles, but without the durability drawbacks. And this is just a great line. Have I said enough? Have I don't think you've hit with this, have you?
No, I have not, but for 60 something dollars, I might have to just give it a try with the elongated.
Yeah, I'll dig one up. I have
Okay.
it somewhere. And yeah, you and just real quick, I did jot these stats down. This was an 8 ounce paddle, 111 swing weight is their target, 7.05 twist weight, folks. Do
Oh,
you guys hear that? Over 7. I mean, this thing is just very, very good. And they are still selling this paddle. So the Apollo Olympus, gone. Um, yeah, gone. I don't think they're coming back because I'll share some more info. But this one, I do believe that they are going to continue making this. But here's the story. All right, so I wanted to cover. Spartus has been sending out newsletters for a really long time about a brand new paddle that they're working on. I'll just spoiler alert. It's called the GT. And basically, I've been tracking this. On the site, you can go to Spartus right now. They have the page up for one of their beta rounds of this paddle, the GT paddle. And it's sold out though. Apparently, I think I jotted it down. Apparently, the very first batch of the betas sold out in 60 seconds. And so that was the GT Beta 1.0. So, Wilson, were you there at the keyboard buying your Taylor Swift tickets and your GT Beta?
Yes, I have my bots buying everything
you
up
did
for
it?
me. Yeah.
But so this used to be initially it was called Project Aurora. I get the ambassador emails, so that's kind of how I've been tracking this. And so last week, when folks were really interested in the Honolulu J6CR scoop, I was like, you know what? I'm a little behind on testing. Let me share what I know about the GT paddle. And I come up with I think my little title for the video, and then boom, a couple days ago, the owner Josh actually went on All Drive No Drops podcast. So and did a big interview with our friends over there, Jacob and David, and yeah, he shared a lot of info. A lot of the info was already like sort of sort of parsed out, sort of cookie crumbed through all the ambassador emails. But I pinged Jacob, and he said he was happy for me to sort of like share some of the info. But I thought I'd walk you through what Spartus is doing now. So right now they've got these crazy budget paddles, and then maybe you can get some of their legacy paddles before they go away forever. But they are focusing on creating paddles in the U.S. And they created, I don't know if this is how they're doing it now, but they actually wanted to create like kind of two brands, Legacy Spartus, and then a new division called, I believe, Spartus USA, to really highlight paddles made in the USA instead of imported or manufactured overseas. Josh, Spartus, if you're listening, I think you should keep one brand. Just my 2 cents. I think if you look at Selkirk's, I think they're really trying to fold in the labs into the single umbrella. I think it makes things easier. My 2 cents. Also, what the heck? Wilson, do you know this? Guess where the owner of Spartus is located? Do you know this?
I hope LA, California.
Yeah, the LA
It's either that or
area.
Texas.
No, well, I don't know. He used to be elsewhere, but Josh is in the LA area, and come on, Josh, why don't we go play together? I'm
Let's
always
do it.
recording play footage. Yeah, you know what? As long as, I mean, we won't make you play with me the whole time. Like, we usually rotate the weak players, so I get pushed around to all over to everybody. Don't worry. But he's out down in SoCal now. And so basically his background, if I understand it right, he was a lawyer, but he has like a lot of engineering knowledge through whatever his practice was, if I understand everything right. And so the GT, I don't have it. I begged Josh to send me one. Those ambassadors are just the Taylor Swift tickets. So I've not hit with one, but I want to share all the info that I have. And so the GT made completely in the US, and it has both the core and face innovations that required them to basically use machinery that they had to design and build from scratch. And so they did that in the US. And so they've produced the GT Beta 1.0. So that one that I said the first run of sold out in under 60 seconds. And folks, ambassadors, if you've hit with this paddle, comment below. Tell folks what it's like to play with it, okay? But the tech is what I want to talk about right now. And basically, it's utilizing what they're calling a fusion foam core. And it's patent pending. And in the interview, Josh explains a little bit about this. And I think it was talked about in the emails as well. But basically, you know how most foam paddles, I don't know if you know this, but like a lot of foam paddles are cut out of like foam sheets. A lot of the foam paddles we're seeing on the market, like it's like prefabricated sheets that are then cut to size. Sometimes they're injected, and this is according to Josh, but I do believe this. And so they're doing something very different. And basically, their foam is not in a pre-made sheet. And they claim that it has substantial benefits over EPP or expanded polypropylene, which, you know, is not unlike the foam that I have a sample of Blue Core right here. This is Diadem's take. Oh, come on. And so
There you go.
that's not unlike what what you see in packing material, right? So and this varies, of course, but their material is actually inflated into the shape of the paddle mold, not made from sheets of foam. And right now, from the betas, what I understand is they're trying to make their paddles play more powerfully, and they think there are going to be some more iterations. Like, they're upfront about that. But yeah, this is a proprietary foam, and it uses a unique process. And he claims, I think he talks about this with Jacob and David, but it's also, he emailed about it. He claims that the feel is much closer to EVA, but with better control and tunability, thanks to how the expansion and the shaping process works. And so they have a history, as I was just talking about, of like tuning their paddles. And that's my favorite kind of paddle. One of my favorite ways paddle companies kind of make their paddles stand out is if they tune it to the player, or tune it for players and not expecting us to weight it up. And having stats that are reflective of like what they think how they think folks will set up their paddles, or want them to play once set up. And so they have a history of that, and it seems this new material, new process is going to make that potentially even easier. And so that's all very, very cool. So we got a unique core, but Wilson, that's not all. The thing that really has me stroking my chin hairs and really like just like excited is they are doing something new with the surface. And so we've seen peel ply, we've seen grit, we've seen all these things to impart spin on the ball, but the problem always is, what's the first thing that dies with a paddle in your experience?
It's probably, well, Gen 3s would be cores, but mainly it's the grit on the paddle face. Yeah.
Okay, you think that's because you're a power hitter, dude. I think almost everyone would say the grit on the face wears out before they bust a core, but Wilson over here is hitting sweet spot all day long. But yes, I think the first thing that always goes out on a paddle is the grit. You get that spin degradation. I mean, it happens as soon as the first week, you chip off the first little bits, and then it never bites quite the same. And even right now, my dad's been playing with the paddle for a long time, and he's like, Matthew, son, it can be the same paddle. I just want one with fresh grit. And so, yeah, I think grit either it wears out. It's just the nature. Like maybe it's yeah, it just wears out. And so they have created something completely different than everything we've seen before. Patent pending, chemically bonded abrasive surface called Permagrit. Let me say this again. It's patent pending, but it is a chemically bonded abrasive surface. So it's using science. It's using chemistry to create this surface, and they actually released a video. Max DePhillips, head of product at Spartus, released a video on Spartus's YouTube channel, and he really goes to town on an old Vatic paddle to try to like illustrate like how the chemically bonded surface just doesn't get damaged the way that a raw carbon fiber surface or a surface that utilizes peel ply. And we're not talking about spray on grit. And what we're talking about now, Permagrit is not a spray on grit. It is made through chemistry. And so, yeah, their big claim, and the video, it was pretty convincing, is that it doesn't smooth out during play. That's what Max DePhillips was trying to convey. And yeah, from the emails that they've sent out, it's on their website. Basically, this is engineered for longevity. And yeah, they are super excited about it. They are they're very, very confident it's going to pass USAP testing. And he claims, Josh, come on, get us a paddle. He claims the shot shaping is incredible. And for weak hitter like me, I love just getting spin from the surface and not from necessarily the dwell from these foam cores. And so this sounds like something I'm really interested in. And another thing that is unique to this, since it's not sprayed on, and it's not applied in the way that we think of grit being applied, it's chemically bonded. They're claiming it's consistent across the face. So like sometimes, have you ever experienced like one side of a paddle feels grittier than the other? I don't know. I know people. You have? Have you really experienced that? All right.
It's not
I know
like
people on the
significant,
internet
but
talk.
you do notice a difference. Yeah.
All right. Well, so that's one of the things. So this is better able to be QC'd. That's also assisted by the fact that it's stateside. And so it's consistent across the face as well. So you won't have like one little part of the paddle face that is super spinny and another part that's not. And then, yeah, as I just mentioned, so the GT is going to be made right here in the US using American sourced materials, which is also unique. And they believe, and it makes sense because I talked to Larry over at Kiwi Labs about manufacturing in the US versus Asia. And in the US, like, obviously there's not a time difference, there's not a language barrier, so QC is easier. R&D, research and development, iteration is faster. Once again, like, it's right here. And then what Spartus is doing, which I find super interesting, is they're having people in the factory on the floor that have science and engineering backgrounds. So it's not like guessing, like I don't know, like just fooling around and seeing what works. Like they have knowledge. And so I'm very, very excited. And I don't know, what do you think? I have a little more info to share, but so I can get a drink of water. How does all of this sound to you? So this new paddle has a core innovation, manufactured completely differently, not cut piece of foam, and then the surface material is completely different. Are you skeptical? Are you excited? Where are you, Wilson?
I am I am excited to see it. The main thing is that I am excited about is that it's made stateside, which is kind of cool. I think this might be the first foam core here that's made stateside. I think everything else, like from Paddle Tech and Engage, they're made they're polypropylene cores.
Yeah,
They're honeycomb cores. I don't know if the new Engage foam paddles are made in the US or not, but assuming they're not, this might be the first one. I think Carbon's R&D is made here, but I think the mass-produced paddles are made elsewhere. But yeah,
yeah,
so good for the local economy that it's made here locally, which is great. I am hesitant about some of the terms and like the grit, like like for example, uh, Selkirk's Infinigrit. I want to. I'll see it. I'll believe it when I see it. I'll believe it when I play with it. Because
sure,
there's a lot of marketing terminology
yes.
that that companies use, um, and at the end of the day, it may just be marketing. I hope it's real technology that could really be applied in a real play situation. But I'm taking it with a grain of salt until I see it in person. But I am
Fair,
excited for the innovation. Yeah.
fair. And you might have a chance sooner than later. I'm gonna get to that in a second. Um, and one thing, I'm also very cognizant of word soup and marketing terms. And what I think is interesting is the Permagrit isn't talking about its peel ply that has this added to it, or it's a spray on. If it's, I have no reason to not believe Josh at his statement that it's chemically bonded, and that is what makes me really like, this could be something. And then I watched that video, which really I think we're gonna have to play with it, which I got news on that in a second. But before I move on from the GT, so the GT is the one that has all the new tech, gonna be built stateside. And so the one that they sent out, the last one they sent out to the beta testers, I had some stats for it, which actually have changed. Remember, I was talking about Spartus is iterative, and they're trying to perfect this paddle. It seems before they mass produce a lot of them, because it's costly to produce here in the States, and this with all this new tech. But the one that's listed on their site, so it's a hybrid. I don't think I said that, but its static weight was 7.8 to 8 ounces. Love that. I love me a 7.8 ounce paddle. I do. And that one's got a 114 swing weight and a 6.4 twist weight. And so for the beta testers, that was $225. But I did read, it was August 14th that I got this ambassador email, or an email from them. They're trying to cap the price at 300, but so that's a pricey paddle. But if it lasts forever, I hopefully that it doesn't go any higher than that. I think, yeah, and so, but yeah, it seems like all of this costs a lot to produce. I think they believe it's the most expensive paddle to make on the market. And so, yeah, we'll see. I think, sometimes it's hard to innovate without pricing, but I got some good news for folks. All right. They are also doing a EPP paddle. They are, even though they love this other technology. They talk about this. Josh talks about this in his interview. Customers love it. Customers love the Boomstick. They love what we've been seeing from Vatic and Quanta, and they really love the bread and butter Locos, which we're going to talk more about in a bit because I freaking played with them. But anyway, and so Spartus doesn't want. They're going to keep perfecting the one we've just been talking about, the GT, but they're going to do a paddle called the P1. Okay, and that's going to utilize EPP, if I understand everything correctly. And they're saying it's going to be a competitor to the Boomstick, to the Loco, and the thing that differentiates it from everything else is that they're going to bring the Permagrit tech to that. And before discount code, the price is looking like it's going to be closer to 200. So much easier, I think, for folks to get excited about. But here's the thing, and this goes back to like another reason I think Spartus shouldn't split their brand into like Legacy and Spartus USA, because this paddle is going to be assembled in the USA. So I'm sure that means they're getting the foam from overseas and then making it here. But that's going to be a way to get the Permagrit for us to test that out probably sooner than later. And moving forward, Spartus plans to release an elongated, a hybrid, and a standard with each release of their paddle, which I think is like a requirement now if you're going to do like interesting paddle. But this was interesting. So the US made one, though, those shapes are going to be slightly different than the molds that they use in Asia or in China. So still standard, hybrid, elongated, but not the exact same molds. And then that's about all I have, like from gathering all the info I could about what Spartus is working on. But folks, if you've hit with any of these prototypes, comment below. Maybe, I believe they have a Discord, so maybe I'll ask folks over there, because I know the 12 or 14 people that watch this video, they're going to want to hear some playtesting thoughts. But what were you going to say, Wilson?
Um, for the EPP paddle, is there a release date or anything? An estimate on
I
that one?
don't I don't think he's talked
Mm,
about that.
okay.
But
Just
the
asking.
feeling I
All right.
got was there was urgency. Um,
Okay.
so basically, he wants to get the Permagrit out there ASAP. And so,
Okay.
from my understanding, like it doesn't. I mean, everything's set up for these kinds of paddles with the
Hmm.
EPP. So I think it will be sooner than later, because I think he even said he wants to keep iterating on the GT. And so and then, before we move on down the road, they actually, when they were working on one of their paddles, they shelved it. I think they shelved it. So they had another take on what they wanted the P1 to be, I believe. And it was more like a one-to-one paddle tech competitor. But that has been shelved. But I think they have a desire to go back to it. And then for folks, I know there were fans of this guy. You were. They are hoping to work on a successor to the Ascension Core, and so that's down the road. And I 100% agree with Josh's approach to get this Permagrit in particular into the hands of players as soon as possible. And to be honest, if it lives up to everything that it does, I could see that being licensed. But if it requires extra machining, like maybe not. Maybe you can only get a forever paddle from Spartus. But I think it's if there's a magical thing to keep the paddle gritty and bitey for forever, like I am 100% down. And so I'm excited. We'll see. If they didn't have such a reputation of like experimenting, innovating, and creating paddles that I personally like, I wouldn't be as excited. I wouldn't be as optimistic. But they have that history. They're in that category of company that has proven that they innovate. And then, from my point of view, from my vantage point, they are also conscientious, price conscious. Well, whatever. They try to make it affordable. Although, of course, some of this stuff is just gonna cost more. And so we'll see. But that brings us to our next section. Unless you have any other comments or questions.
No.
No? All right, then let's chug along to the next bit of our programming. What are we testing right now? This section is presented by our friends over at SwiftNet. If you're looking for the most innovative net, which I think might actually be manufactured in the US as well, right?
Yep.
Right. So it's made out of recycled carbon fiber from the aerospace industry. SwiftNet. Our friends at SwiftNet, they're part of a bigger company where they basically recycle carbon fiber to create products. And I'm glad there's a pickleballer over there, because the SwiftNet is one heck of a net. Check them out. Promo code Matthew K will get you the best deal. And folks, if you ever use my promo code for SwiftNet, shoot me a message. Let me know, because we've been talking about SwiftNet for ages, and I'm not sure anyone's used it, and I'm just kind of curious. Is there just not a demand for portable nets? What's preventing folks from buying one of these? I really want to know. That's more of a sidebar, but check them out. But all right, Wilson, what have you been hitting with? I was kind of. You know what? Since we've been talking about this in-between paddle coming from Spartus that's going to sit in the same conversation as the Boomstick and the Locos, you've been hitting with the bread and butter Loco. I finally, today, hit with them. I'm going to tell you everything I think about them, but what do you think? Remind folks, are you crazy? Are you loco about the Loco? What's up?
I am very loco for the Loco. Yeah, so number one, I love the unique combination of colors. I have a purple grip on here, but it's a brown orangey grip with the cream colored edge guard. Amazing. But yeah, one thing that stood out was that after breaking it in, because initially I was not the first like session I had with it, I actually put it down and I played with another paddle. It took some time to actually warm up and break in, which I was surprised about, because this is a full foam core, and this is a paddle first foam, Gen 4 foam paddle that I felt like really required any breaking in. But once that once this paddle actually broke in, um, the sweet spot opened up. It felt a little more springy, and yeah, it's been great. I actually used this in one of my local little fundraiser tournament that I played in, and I felt like it did really well under pressure. Like I said, I always need something a little more reliable, and a little more controllable in a high pressure tournament situation. Yeah, so I think this is a floating core, or it's a dual foam core with a foam ring with this foam center. And yeah, I really like it. I can see why there is so much hype around it. What did you like about it today?
Well, Wilson, as a little soft hitter, I I was actually suited these paddles up because I'm finally getting to test some new stuff, and I went through. I got a little bit. I snuck over to morning open play, playing with the seniors, and some folks were ripping. But I was hitting with an elongated a little bit. I had already hit with this in prototype form, and then elongated wide body, as well as their hybrid, which is a new shape from them. This take on hybrid, I don't think I've hit with a BMB with this particular shape.
Is it not
Is
the
this the
same
same as
as
the Invader?
the Invader? Yeah.
Okay, I think you might be right. It just looked more angular, but I don't
Or
have one
maybe
next to me. But
it looks really similar to the Filth hybrid, so maybe
yeah,
it's
that's
relatively new.
definitely.
It's
Yeah,
it's
I could
new.
see it being the same as that, but it definitely has. These are carved out for those folks that really need the two-hander, that
Hmm.
space. I know that's a sticking point for folks. Um, Holy smoke! First impression as a soft hitter, I didn't. I might have to have you break them in for me. I didn't. I liked how they played straight out of the box. You also might have had my first. I can't remember when I got the one that you're testing. But I loved the feel. I think this is gonna be hard to top. So I had gotten to hit with. I've hit a little bit with the Boomstick, and so my thinking was to like try and do a video comparing the two. And my first, I only have like probably first impressions of both, but I recall this feeling very pingy, very pingy. These absorb very firm, very
Dense.
pleasant.
Oh,
What'd you say?
maybe
What'd you say?
dense, but dense.
Maybe yeah. I could dance my would plays into this, but very cushioned. I don't want to say plush, but I don't know. I felt like I had an ice cream cone out there. It was a lot of fun. They felt great. And then I wasn't having any issues with pop-ups, and I was rotating the three shapes, and then I was getting great power, great shape. I don't know. They've changed something. Like, this is gritty. They have not had. I don't know. You played with the newer Philfs. Were they like this?
No, I'd never known bread and butter to be a very gritty paddle company.
Okay.
Like the Honolulus, you know when you feel a new one, you know it's a Honolulu.
Yeah.
Even even the boomstick is not as gritty as the
Yeah.
Honolulus. But anyways, these are not traditionally bread and butter. Like I played with the filth all of last year, and it was not crazy gritty. But this is a whole nother step up. This is definitely
Yeah.
gritty.
And for me, that was always one of the little drawbacks for bread and butter as someone that played so much with the Honolulu paddles. Like, they just had a little less spin, and this was more noticeable back with the Gen 2 builds. But yeah, this is plenty. This is gritty. This freaking vampire teeth. So watch out. Watch out. And so yeah, that's my first impression. This is a review I'm working on, and so definitely a lot more testing to do. But they were doing like pre-sale or small batch sales,
Yeah.
like and doing it in waves. So I don't actually know how it is right now. I'm sure you can order one on the website. We are set up with promo code Matthew K over there, so check that out. But yeah, this is definitely a contender for paddle of the year for me, and that's based off of just a small amount of playtime. But I believe you told me, isn't this your main now?
Yeah, currently, even my last little tournament, I played with this paddle. Previously, if no, it was the Packle Evo 1. Um, and I still pull that out every once in a while just to get a baseline feel of how these new foam feel like compared to the Gen 3 honeycomb cores. I like to have make sure I have a good baseline. But yeah, this is currently my main. And if you are here next month of November, I might run another money ball. You'll probably see this in the videos. So I don't know. We'll see.
All
We'll
right.
see.
Yeah, and for folks that are wanting to hop on the bandwagon and get one of these right away, of course, the elongated is like tons of room for the two-hander. It's the one that's going to have the most driving power. It also is the one that has the most reach. And so, even if you don't want an elongated for that extra driving power, if you're someone that maybe can't move as quick on the courts and could benefit from lengthier reach, this is the one to look at. And then the wide body, which I freaking love. This is the same silhouette as the Fat Boy. The Fat Boy, it was my favorite bread and butter paddle. It's the one I played with at the Nerdy Tourney. But this one is great if you are a defensive player. But I also think it's great, to be honest, if you're a hybrid lover. I think this it plays plenty fast. I don't think you'll get notice any lag time. And it's just a very forgiving shape. A lot of fun. And then the hybrid, if you look, I think they're the same. I guess the hybrid does have a little bit more reach. That's really more, the hybrid would be the one to pick if you want like maximum hand speed, but don't need as forgiving of a sweet spot as the wide body. And so that's a little breakdown. Someone commented I did a similar thing on the Rhombus review. And folks, if you haven't checked that out, check that out. There's a giveaway. But someone commented that was helpful. And so I thought I would break that down. And then, Wilson, I can't just be hitting I can't go crazy hitting the Loco and just do the Loco. So I am desperately trying to squeeze in playtime for the Opal from 6-0. I've had a few casual sessions, and this is probably going to be the focus of when we do our review session, hopefully tomorrow, as long as no one bails. But I got to get some serious competitive time on this. This paddle has confused me a little bit. So I really, really like the Ruby Pro. And there's some odd comments about folks that seemingly have played with the Ruby Pro and the Opal that don't make sense to me. So I don't know if there was like an old Opal that people got, but this is definitely a power paddle. And I'll have you hit with it and you can tell me if I'm wrong. This is a power paddle. The owner of 6-0 has definitely communicated it is a paddle that he really suggests that you get multiple hours before you get a full picture of what it does. And so maybe I'm experiencing what you always experience with having to break paddles in. I don't know if it's as much about breaking in as just getting used to it. But initially, compared to the Ruby Pro, this just, and I had spent a lot of time on the Ruby Pro. Playing with this one, it felt heavy in the hands. And then I also thought I was getting a few I don't know, dead spots or not getting the feel that I wanted. And so ultimately, and then I also didn't like my grip setup. And so I went through a few different things. So I wanted to widen this sweet spot out a little bit because it is a little less forgiving with just a few sessions. So maybe it will break in, but when I was playing with it over the weekend, I was noticing the ball dying with mishits. And so I actually added weight up here, and I don't normally add weight to the sides. Typically, if I add weight, it's only to reduce the propulsiveness, and I usually only add weight at the throat. But I didn't have that need. What I needed was this sweet spot to widen out. So I played with some weight there, and then I definitely think there was improvement, but it felt even heavier in my hands, and so I ended up adding some handle weight as well. And so for this one, I'm using 6 grams of I think this is 6 grams of Flickweight's copper handle weight. And so I had the handle weight, and then I had this weight, and yeah, that countered the swinginess, but it was just a heavier paddle. You know I like my paddles light. And so what I ended up doing was taking this off and keeping this. So this has added stability. Without this weight here, the paddle definitely feels more stable. Maybe it's also broken in some. And so I think this is improving. I'm also remembering this shape because this is an unusual hybrid shape. Although the Ruby Pro was like that, and I didn't. But the Ruby Pro is just a forgiving paddle. This one, I'm getting more used to the shape, and I took this weight off. I don't think I need that. I got the stability from the flick weight, and I'm enjoying it a lot more like this. And I also slimmed my grip down. I tried a different over grip setup, and it was this is one that like I needed to be precise, because this is a more precision paddle than some other paddles, and so that's where I've landed. I'm liking this setup, and I'm gonna put it through its paces when we play. But yeah, I definitely like am enjoying the paddle. The feel is very unique, and so this is gonna be one of those tough situations where I think folks are gonna have to demo it, but also I think you have to get used to it. So I don't quite know how folks are going to get.
Well,
I think they'll just have to watch the reviews and see what someone that spent some time with it says. And so that's what I'm doing. And I just hope I can get it done in time, get it done in a timely manner. Yeah.
yeah,
What were you going
I
to
mean,
say?
I'm excited to give it a whirl, play a few games with it tomorrow or whenever we can get a session in. But yeah, I think it's the Opal is kind of like the Boomstick, where it's kind of hard to really describe or explain your how it plays. And it's also hard sometimes when you are trying to listen to how someone else compares paddles and how they explain how the play characteristics are for that specific paddle. Because you know they may or may not play like you. I mean, like you're very control
Right.
oriented. I'm a relatively hard hitter, so we both can feel different things with the same exact paddle.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I think demoing is the best option for most people, but of course, it's kind of hard to find a demo a place that even demos paddles, right? But just a quick side
Yeah.
question, along the edges of the paddle, do you know roughly how much weight you place there? I know you have a 6 gram uh, butt cap,
Yeah.
a coin, butt coin,
So
but then how about
all,
the
all my
sides?
weight, yeah, on the sides I did 3 grams. Not the pods. 3 gram strips cut from like I forget what the normal width is. Like
I think it's usually half inch,
half an
right?
inch. Yeah,
Yeah.
half inch. And so it's spread out pretty well. But yeah, it was yeah, it was. I didn't like how heavy it was, and I got what I needed from this really does create stability, like the in cap weight. You wouldn't think that, but it really does. This is really what I think people should experiment with first before they start, unless they're reducing pop. But if they're like, if you're putting weight here, I think you should look at the handle weight first.
I'm really excited about, is it Flickway? I'm sorry for the companies I mix up, but the one with the new band, is it
Yeah,
the weighted
flick
band?
weight is yeah, flick weight has now a new product. I don't have it in front of me, but they're now weighted bands that go here. That's going to be, I think, for vibration dampening more than anything.
Yeah.
But maybe it does. I mean, it's weight up there, so maybe we're definitely going to have to. We're going to try that out. I have some for you. Did I give it to you
Ooh.
already? Okay,
No,
I
not
have those for
yet.
you. I got a bunch of stuff to bring you tomorrow.
Ooh.
Yeah, I have got that, and then now Flickweight has these little like rubber butt caps that are
Mhm.
weighted as well, so you can like cycle through and see what you like, or just the other benefit of that, kind of like slice cap, is you can build your butt cap with the rubber one.
Mm.
You could, so you have that knob to do your rolls and flicks and all that. But yeah, I think handle weight is what folks should be. And like if you're putting weight here, I suggest trying handle weight. And so the benefit is you can get that stability. You can lower that balance point. but it won't slow your paddle down. It won't make it feel heavy because the weight here, even if it's the same amount of weight, it doesn't feel as heavy as if you put it there. And so anyway, my 2 cents. And folks, if you hit with the Opal, I've been seeing folks in the comments describe their own experience. I think that would be super helpful on the Opal in particular, because I know a lot of ambassadors have way more time on this paddle. So if you got early access, like, let folks know your experience. And then I would suggest, if you do that, maybe like comment like what paddle you used to play with, so people, like, sort of what you were saying, everyone has different backgrounds, everyone has different play styles. I think if you at least know what your main was prior to hitting with the Opal, that will give people some context.
Yeah.
And now I think we're running out of time. And so I did a little bit more playtest. Here, I'll highlight real quick. I'm still hitting with the Adidas Standard. I keep pulling this out. I was actually pulling this out when I wanted to take a break from the Opal over the weekend, because it was like, whenever you're tuning a paddle, that can get like kind of frustrating. And so when I was getting frustrated, I yanked this thing out of the bag. It's got that beefy handle. It's got that Gen 3 build. I freaking really, really like this paddle. And yes, if you want to try this one, so this is the Standard, buy it from Pickleball Central. They do the price matching, and that will help support the channel if you use that link. And then I'm probably going to take those elongated away from you. The last I heard, you were liking the 14 millimeter, but you're saying the 16 is maybe stick with 14. Is that
Yeah,
new thoughts?
unless you have abnormally large hands, or you're pretty, you hit the gym or something. I think number one, the 16 ADIPOWER Pro elongated is number one, the grip is too big, and it's really head heavy. I think the grip, now that I think about it, I feel like even though they're both um, doc online, it says that they're both 5 1/4 inch in diameter. I think it's just the
No,
it's
for
not
four and a
really,
quarter, right?
sorry, 5 1/4, 4 1/4. You're right,
No,
four and a
four.
quarter.
I was like, that is
That's
a huge grip.
yeah. Sorry, my bad. 4 1/4. But I think the grip is based on the width of the paddle. I think in some companies they will narrow or shave off or something. They'll do something to make the grip actually 4 1/4 or 4.12 or whatever it is. But I think Adidas did not change that. So it's the same
Yeah.
thickness as the core. Yeah, so I can only play with a 14 millimeter version of this elongated ADIPOWER Pro, and I don't mind it. It because of the swing weight, it feels more like a 16 millimeter, and it's totally controllable, very playable. But yeah, for most people, I would recommend, if you really want an elongated Adidas ADIPOWER Pro paddle, to get the 14. It would fit more the majority of the people's hands and play style. Yeah,
Yeah, but I think the real headline is Adidas made some good paddles.
not
They
bad.
have had a
Yeah.
reputation that their paddles aren't good, and they're spinning out of that. I
Nice.
think my suggestion to them, though, is to make sure, as you're developing your paddles, you're play testing with the general public. I think
Ask Matthew
everything about
K
these
for his
paddles.
opinions.
Ask me. Trust me, they're not going to ask me. I was very curious about that metal bone. I've never gotten to hit with one. And to be honest, like, you know how I like, that's exactly where I put my weight. So I was always very curious. And I'm not, yeah, but I have an open mind. You know, I hit everything. Like, if it's like, I'm not like dismissing things outright based off of the swing weight and the twist weight. I really try to go with the feel. And as a softer player, like, I think I have a more open mind maybe than lots of folks. But for these ADIPOWERs, I think it's very clear they really got feedback from their pros. And if you're a higher level player, a man that goes to the gym, these are ones to look at. If you're anybody else, it sounds like you're a fan of the 14 millimeter elongated. That is a bit more competitive. Gen 3's in that shape. I will say this I think is probably the standout of them, just because this is not as common of a shape. There aren't as many budget standard Gen 3 paddles. Honolulu's yet to make a J3 Gen 3, and so this is one that I do think is a standout, but it is a beefier handle. But and then before we move on, I got one other thing I'm testing before we move on to a big part of our testing section. But I have been testing out a new pair. These actually got lost in the shuffle. These are pickleball shoes. Oh yeah, you're seeing the white. I can see your face glowing, Wilson. White. You love the white. You love the white. These are from Kanso Sports. Have you heard of them, Wilson?
Mm-mm.
I think that's how you say it. Kanso Sports, Kanso Sports. They, I think, were more into padel, and then they recently created a line of pickleball shoes. And I have been testing these out, and I am incredibly impressed. And you know, I have tested out a lot of pickleball shoes, and I think these shoes from Kanso Sports, from Kanso Sports, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but I think I put these on, and I had no notes on fit. I thought they fit great, felt great, and I put them on and just forgot about them.
So they fit true to size? Yeah.
I guess they fit true to size. And one thing I really appreciate is the section right here, the toe box. It's got mesh up here, but they took the time to put, I don't know if this is leather or whatever this material is, but it is at the toe cap. And so if you're Freddy Kruegerin out there on the courts with those sharp toenails, you won't be busting holes in it. You got I do appreciate that. And then yeah, they feel plenty light, great support. And yeah, I'm a fan. I'm gonna keep testing these out, but check them out. They're doing a lot of cool stuff. I think they might even have other colors for these. I have the whites, which, I'm always complaining about the white pickleball shoes out here in LA. I know you love them. I can't. But I think they might have some more colors. And then Kanso, if you're listening, bring us those padel shoes colors, because those, you got some sick colorways. Bring them to pickleball. All right, we like our sick colorways too. But very cool brand. And right now I'm set up with promo code Matthew K makes these $117. However, I think that code might expire. So if you're really interested, you might want to go check them out while the code is live. And yeah, that's really all my thoughts. I also really like the tread pattern. No craziness where, how our dirty courts, no craziness where stuff gets wedged in there and you're got like a rock or something. And so yeah, we'll see how it holds up. But yeah, little mini shoe review before we move on. You need to take a drink because this is a big section we're about to do.
No, I'm good. You're the one who's doing all the talking.
Well, only because we're behind on testing. But today is the day we're talking pickle poppers. We talked about these in the other podcast episode. I'll leave a link, I think, right here. This is a Korean brand. Correct? Am I correct?
Yeah.
Yes, Korean brand. And we talked about them in our podcast episode, will Asia take over pickleball? And I know a lot of the pros wonder about that regarding like playing, but I was positing that question, and it kind of goes to what we were talking about with Spartus. Um, will the Asia brands, their Asia pickleball brands, like not just doing manufacturing but building brands? And my question is, they're just like how we were talking about with Spartus, being able to do R&D, iterate, be quick, by having US based manufacturing. Well, Asia brands that are in Asia kind of overtake US brands, and I think this is probably the one of the main examples of like an Asian brand kind of like adopting a US brand approach, which is they have come out with a few paddles. These are their two performance. You have the Poppin' Tango and the Poppin' Frost, and they come. I'll try to leave a video. They have a great unboxing experience, a lot of goodies, and yeah, they're just like hitting the road running. Is that an expression?
Hit the road running? I don't know.
Yeah,
Something like that.
they're coming out of the gate hot. They're
There
coming
you
out of the
go.
gate hot. They got a whole sort of design language. I will say, I think this is kind of like where they kind of show themselves to maybe not be quite as knowledgeable as the US market as they are the Asian market. I think based off of like the Labubus and all the different things, like cute has like higher value in Asia than it does with pickleball brands out here. It's very clear this is like in the vein of like with their unboxing experience and all that. They definitely looked at Bread and Butter, a US brand, and I think the Pickle Poppers is cute. Bread and Butters is playful brand. It's got a little bit more edge. They know that I think the paddle addicts are out in the States are definitely lean towards men. And so I think they have everything right with the boxing, the branding, except the tone, I think, doesn't resonate quite as much probably with the US customer base. What do you think? Am I out of pocket here?
I see where they're going, and culturally, I think it reflects where they're from. Korea, but just in general, I think the cute things are more popular in that region. Bread and butter is a little raw around the edges. I mean, they're always drinking in their videos.
Yeah.
You
Well,
don't
what do you
see.
think?
uh,
What do you think? Is there a market for cute in the States for pickleball?
I think so.
Okay.
Not 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 everybody, not all of the players are guys, right?
Fair.
I
Yeah.
mean, granted,
So
I don't know the percentages, but I see people playing with, I think there's some people who will choose things that are just cute or that they like visually over performance sometimes.
yeah, definitely. So I think um, if you're hunting for a paddle, if you want a cute paddle, these are some of the cutest I've seen, and they're performers, and we're going to talk about that. And B, if you're looking to gift a cute paddle, if you're like a husband or a boyfriend trying to get your partner into the game, the Pickle Poppers has an unboxing experience next to none, and so it's great for gifting. Comes with a lot of goodies. My favorite goodie is this little pouch that
That little hat thing.
will, yeah, it looks like a hat, and it's become my dog treat bag for my dog. I can't find it. Wilson discovered it fits a pickleball perfectly. Or you can get wristbands. So they make it fun to get. And But how do they freaking play, Wilson?
You
I hit
know,
with these today. What do you think? Tell me what you think, and then I'm going to tell you if you're wrong or right.
well, they like how they are kind of imitating bread and butter with their packaging and everything. Honestly, these are really reminiscent of this. Well, this one is the similar to the bread and butter filth, and then this one is a very gritty version of the bread and butter fat boy. Um, I played with both in the last 2 days. This one just it was a throwback for me, throwback to last year. The what was this one called? Sorry, Pop and Frost, the
So, Pop and
elongated.
Tango.
Pop
Yeah,
and
Pop and
Frost.
Frost is the elongated.
The this one really reminiscent of the my OG bread and butter filth. And then this one I've played with your Fat Boy before, and the pop and everything is the same. It's just the grit is crazy. Let's see if I can do this. Let's see if you can just like okay, no,
Did
it
it
doesn't do
stay?
that, but I it doesn't stay, but I promise you it is gritty. Like even comparing
It's
these
gritty.
two. This is just the elongated Pop and Frost is just T700 carbon fiber. This one is T700 carbon fiber with Kevlar, and
Yeah,
it is a gritty boy.
yeah. So I agree with a lot of that. I hit with the Pop and Frost. It's elongated. I thought it was more controllable than my memory of a filth. I thought it was a little softer. Um, but you definitely hit with the filth a lot more.
Mhm.
But and this one is 119 after promo code Matthew K. So compared to discounted filth after promo code Matthew K, that's 148.50 cents.
Yeah.
So you could definitely get it at a discount. I thought it played a little more plush,
Uh,
which yeah, I don't know. Does
do you
that
want a
sound crazy
little
to you?
no, no. But one thing I noticed though, because I was trying to see what the core construction is. By the way, these two are Gen 2 thermoform paddles.
Gen 2 builds.
Then Gen 2 builds. This Pop and Frost is specifically this elongated Pop and Frost. There is a disclaimer on their website. At the end of the year, these are will no longer be USAP approved. And the reason why is that these came in kind of hot. The PB core, these are 0.44. If people
Are
don't
you
know,
sure?
100%, I'll
This
bet you on
this
it.
paddle.
Yes, it is. What is the requirement? 0.43, is that right? 0.43. PB core is supposed to be 0.43. These come in
Yeah.
at 0.44. And I do
Okay.
notice that difference. Yes,
Yeah.
these are not going to be outshining the Locos or the Boomsticks, but these are noticeably poppy for Gen 2 paddles,
Poppy.
right off the bat. But yeah, so if you go on the website, they say that by the end of the year, these will not be approved
Yeah.
anymore. However, they're coming out with a new version, and I think there will be a discount if you have purchased this. I
Okay.
don't know the exact
Yeah.
discount, but it's a pretty steep discount, a good discount for their new and approved version that's coming out next
Yeah.
year or something like that.
Yeah. So that's how a lot of companies, more than one company, basically right now there's a window of time where you can have that higher PB core number and it is USAP approved for tournament play. And then companies that are selling paddles in that oftentimes are then giving folks a discount if they purchase one now and then want the updated new non-sunset approved paddle. So glad to hear Pop and Frost is honoring that and uh, doing something for their
I
customers in
mean,
that
it
situation.
sounds like they're trying to be a legit paddle company, right? Not just like
Definitely,
a for fun, cutesy, funsy
yeah,
paddle. I mean, they're serious about their paddle approval process. So
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I didn't do a ton of dinking with this. It definitely didn't feel crazy poppy on soft hits, but I didn't do a lot of dinking. I will say on drives, it felt plush. Would you concur with that?
I think they're pretty stiff.
No?
Yeah, I think they're,
Dang, bro, we
yeah.
had different experiences. All right. I was hitting it side by side with this one,
Hmm.
which I thought definitely thought was poppy. Uh, and so I preferred this one myself.
Hmm.
I thought it was aggressive. I thought it was poppy. It was reminiscent of the Fat Boy for sure. And I've played with that paddle quite a bit. And this one after code is 136. So after promo code Matthew K, it's $136. Whereas the Fat Boy is 171. So after code, and so definitely they're competing on price, but you get the box, you get all the little goodies. I don't know. Did you notice? Did you see anything about PB Core with this one on the site?
No, no, this one I didn't see any issues with it, or any disclaimer or anything. But yeah, I like
Okay.
this paddle. I wish the grit that was on here went, it came in the pop and frost, but it's all right. It's
Yeah.
still very spinny and controllable. So,
Well, folks, if you want to try one of these, oh, actually, before I say that, I do know, I believe they told me they're developing a Gen 4 paddle, so I'm very curious about that.
mm.
And they got a lot of feedback from reviewers in particular, and I do think they are trying to skew the design language less cute. And so we'll see, though. It sounds like maybe, I don't know, if they want to differentiate themselves, maybe they should stay in the cute lane because like there are there are a lot of there's a lot of paddle company branding that is on the more edgy side. So maybe leaning in. I don't know, folks. What do you guys think? Cute or try to speak to what the design language some of the successful paddle companies are having now. But Wilson, did you know we're doing a giveaway?
Mm.
Pickle Poppers. We're collaborating on a giveaway. If you want to win a Pop and Frost and a Pop and Tango paddle,
Both.
I've got an Instagram post at Matthew K Pickleball that has all the details. But basically, you got to subscribe to the channel, follow Matthew K Pickleball over on Instagram, follow Pickleball Poppers PB. That's at picklepoppers.pb on Instagram, and then like that post. So I'll leave a link to my Instagram. You can see the post, and then they're having you tag 3 pickleball friends in the comments of that post. And that giveaway, that's a short giveaway. Usually I run mine for a month, but Pickle Poppers, they're not messing around. They want folks to get these paddles fast. And so the giveaway is running October 29th to November 5th, and then the winners will be announced November 10th. So if you want in, if you want to try to win one of these paddles, one of these Pickle Poppers, go check out that Instagram post. And that brings us to the end of our crazy epic podcast. Wilson, I think we should give folks a break. Do you want to do the tip of the week or save it for next week?
No, I've been very good
We're
with it. Give me like two
we're at
minutes.
it. We're
Give me two
basically like an
minutes.
hour and a half. All right, 2 minute speed round tip of the week. This is presented by BodhiPickleball. If you're looking for some of the top accessories, if you need weight, if you need paddle grips or over grips, whatever you need, go check out Bodhi. We're running out of time, but use promo code Matthew K if you go. All right, what is the tip of the week? Make us better at pickleball.
All right, desperation shots. Shots that when you have to hit when you're out of position, right? Over the weekend, I was playing a challenge court at our local iPickle, and I got pulled around and pushed around by higher level players, and I noticed that when I am pulled out or out of position and I'm not in a good attacking position, sometimes I'll try to do some crazy hook shot or try to blast it past the my opponent. And what happens is that they just kind of punch it back into the open court because I'm out of position and there's nothing I can do about it. And my partner can only cover so much of the court by himself. So my tip is try to reset it, try to drop it back into the middle center of the kitchen, so it gives you and your partner time to get back into position. What I noticed is that the reason why I say in the middle is because that will reduce the amount of angles your opponent has. If you drop it to any of the corners, they can hit a cross court, and that'll just be that'll fly out the court, and it'll bounce into the kitchen and out the court because they have so much angle that they can create. So yeah, when you are in a desperate situation, don't go for the hero shot, even though it could potentially lead to an awesome, a reel or replay or something if it's being recorded. But be calm, reset it, drop it back into the middle of the kitchen, get back into position, and finish that point. Was that two
Awesome. All
minutes?
right. We are desperate. We are desperate to get to the end of this podcast. But, bro, you had texted me this, and in your text, you had told me not only don't do the hero shot, but you said don't do a lob. And I actually, Wilson, I think I got to disagree with you on this week's tip.
That might
I
work,
think
yeah.
I think doing a drop into the kitchen or a reset, if you're being wrangled, I think that's hard. I think it's hard. I can't even see people do a drop into the kitchen when no one's bothering them. Like, but I guess but you know what I see all the time, and I experienced it this weekend because you know who's having to deal with this all the time? It's
You.
the older players. I mean, yeah, I'm always desperate, but I'm not. I don't have any strategy when I'm desperate. Sadly, some of the play footage I included has some desperate. But hey, I manage. I'm used to being desperate. But you know who's really used to being desperate and playing against higher level players? It's the older people, older folks at open play. And two different people this morning was killing me with just doing these massive lobs.
Okay.
And I think if you're desperate, you got to practice it because these two folks, they've practiced their lobs. But I gotta throw in another suggestion and maybe disagree. I think if you're desperate, do a lob that you've practiced because
Lobs
if you're
work, yeah.
playing, if you're playing more skilled players like it sounds like you were, first off, it does everything you're saying. Lets you get back into position, but it also freaking messes with people's minds. It frustrates them, especially if they're folks used to playing quote unquote normal pickleball. And even the pros, it seems, it's happening. They're
They're lobbing more
weaponizing the
now.
lobs.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a lobbing war going on, and this is something I think got yanked right out of the morning, early AM rec play, where the seniors are lobbing and just annoying folks. And so I think we gotta get in on this lobbing thing, Wilson.
All
I
right.
think this is our way. I think this is our way to defeat folks at the challenge court.
We're gonna have to
I
practice
think we
them.
have two things to do. We got to practice lobs, and then we got to build our stamina with in-air volleying, and that's where I think if we do those two things, we're gonna be on the pro circuit. We'll be ready to go. But all right, thank you, Wilson, for making us better with your tip of the week. I might not agree with everything you say, but I think your heart's in the right place. Your heart's in the right place. But hopefully, the folks watching, your hearts are in the right place, and you'll remember to like and subscribe to the channel. And don't forget, we got those giveaways going on. Check out the Honolulu NF video. We got a Thrive Fury. We got a True Foam Genesis 4. And that one I don't think is going to be up too much longer. And then check out the 6-0 Ruby Pro review if you want to win yourself a free pair of Soul Lace pickleball shoes. And also my Rhombus Quanta video has one as well. So make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, follow the channel. But most importantly, I hope you get to Pickle soon. Wilson, do you hope the folks get to Pickle soon?
I hope everybody gets to Pickle soon. And go Dodgers.
Go Dodgers. All right. And just don't forget, it's about having fun.